home can you buy for $200,000 in each state? I love this stuff. This is from howmuch.net website. I love it. So let's dive. Don't forget to subscribe down below, my friends. And whoever sent this website to me, why? I can't stop looking at all the various things in here, but it's awesome. Howmuch.net is just, this is fantastic. All right. So the real estate market explained in one graph. The U.S. housing market has now surpassed its pre-recession peak by 4.3%. This is great news for the economy. Although there is still an ongoing debate about the possibility of another housing crash. There's always a possibility of a housing crash, my friends. Don't sweat it. Whatever you believe about real estate, there's no doubt that prices depend on where you live. We create a new visualization to demonstrate what this looks like. How much home and square foot can you buy for $200,000 in every state? And let's see, we're going to read down here. We'll go back to the chart. According to Zillow, the median price for a house is $200,000. When was this written, by the way? 2017. So about a year and a half ago. Probably a little bit more than that, but not much. The median price for a house was $200,000, up 7.4% since 2016. So naturally, how big of a house can you afford with a mortgage of $200,000? Just always remember this, folks. Every time you're borrowing, basically it's $500 a month per $100,000 you borrow. Just keep that in the back of your mind. All right. If you just think about that, you borrow $200,000, your mortgage is about $1,000. I mean, it's going to be a little bit more, a little bit less, but generally speaking, that's a nice round number to put it on. You're going to borrow $500,000, your mortgage is going to be $2,500. Just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So naturally, okay, our visualization answers this question on a sliding color-coded scale. We broke each state into a grid with 25 boxes representing 2,500 square feet. That's a large home with at least 3 bedrooms and 3 baths. Green boxes indicate affordability, and orange and red means it's expensive. We then graphed how much house you could purchase with $200,000. The results highlight the enormous differences between housing values in the U.S. It is all about location, location, location. In the Hoosier State, your $200,000 mortgage can purchase a 2,300 square foot home, but in Washington, D.C., you can only purchase 500 square feet. That's the difference between a large home and a cramped studio apartment. Yeah. The fact that D.C. boasts the most expensive housing market in the country should come as no surprise to observers of the economy in the aftermath of the recession. And that's not good, I tell you. You can't have all this wealth consolidated around the government. That's bad. While real estate market crashed in other metro areas that kept rising in D.C., the nation's capital has actually started to come back down to earth, but the area is still an outlier. If you can get a high-paying job in the government, chances are that you'll need to find a roommate to make ends meet. Except for Ohio, rural states without large cities dominate the list of affordability. The 5 most affordable are Indiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, West Virginia, and Ohio. Man, right up that corridor there, right? I mean, even West Virginia, kind of Ohio, Mississippi, Arkansas, Indiana, kind of just going up that way. The 5 most unaffordable states are not surprisingly, D.C., Hawaii, California, Massachusetts, and Colorado. Wow, that's surprising to see Colorado there. Think about the inequality here. The 4th most unaffordable state in the country, Massachusetts, is still more than twice as affordable as D.C. and Hawaii. Whether you're buying a home or just renting, chances are you'll know the price you pay can vary from neighborhood to neighborhood. Yeah. So if you ever think you're paying too much, just know that someone else in D.C. is paying a heck of a lot more for a smaller home. I find that California, Massachusetts, I mean, all these, I find that the inequality of the some folks on our political betters, so to speak, and yet, those are dominated by the most unequal places. It's just nuts. I mean, so you got Indiana, Arkansas, all these are more equal, less inequality, and these are more inequality. And look at the political leanings of the two. I just find that enlightening, actually, and I find it very very comforting, frankly, because I don't like inequality. I think inequality is bad. That doesn't mean I think everyone should have the same result, but I just like the idea of everyone having a chance for sure, and it is kind of scary when you factor in the wealth that's concentrated in a few. I'm somewhat sympathetic towards that argument for sure. I just find that people make the argument the most are the ones who reside in the most inequality places. I was going to tell you, when I was when I got out of college, when I was in college after I got out of the Army, I used to clean carpets for ChemDry in Northern Virginia, and I'll never forget going to some of these DC houses. And just right down in Washington, D.C. And it's funny, you go to these rich, just in Northwest, then you go to some of these Southeast, and then just on my white people. And I'll just never ever forget. I'd go clean a house for grandma, for instance, an old black lady, grandma, faced horrible discrimination back in her day. Just the kindest people you could ever possibly imagine. It was touching, actually, how nice these people were. Now, they didn't tip. I'll never forget they never tipped. But they'd offer you everything. They'd offer you, it was such an illuminating thing. You go in these Southeast DC, which there's not very many white people, lots of crime. And this is back in the early 90s. So the crime was started in the 80s. South DC was just horrific. And I just bet the houses all around were just run down, but they kept their houses tidy. I just remember this one grandma, it just kept her house tidy. And oh man, how could anyone be discriminated towards her? She's such a wonderful lady. God bless her soul. She was so nice. And I'll never forget she had a tip, but she offered me cookies and tea. And if you imagine an older black lady who had been through hard times, and that was her, big glasses, petite, but just her house was impeccably clean. And I'll never forget, why am I cleaning this? Because it was great. And the problem is you had to drive in this area, and it was not a good neighborhood, and you had a parallel park, and it was tough. Let's just put it that way. And then you had to take this buffer and walk up these steps, probably 50, maybe not 50, 30 brick steps or concrete steps. And you're humping it up there, it's hard. It was just not a great neighborhood. And all these houses around are just bad. And then hers was petite and very, just spick and span. I'll never forget that. It was very interesting to me. And I don't know why I got to say that. I find that fascinating. And then I go to some other houses out in the suburbs, and I'll never forget there's one lady's house, and there's dirty underwear on the floor, and just oh my goodness. And I say, you got to pick that stuff up. And she's like, why? You're here to do. I said, I'm not here to pick up your dirty underwear. And I don't know if it's literally dirty underwear, but it's clothes on the floor. And I was like, I'm not touching your clothes. I don't know if you're just sitting there thinking, have just sense of decency? You know what I'm saying? And I'll never forget that. I'm just sitting there, just a crappy. And then she had stains all over her carpet, and this lady in DC had none. And this lady had a nicer house in the suburb. I think she was in Manassas. And I'm just yeah. And they had stains and they couldn't get up. And then she didn't want to pay because you couldn't get it up the stains. I can't get up red Kool-Aid stains. I mean, I can get up a good amount of it, but I can't. I'm not going to sit here all day trying to get this up. And it's the difference of it was different. Anyway, that was just interesting to me. Why am I going off that tangent? I don't know. And for those of you who don't like me going off a tangent, I'm not apologizing. It just brought a thought to my head. All right. So let's go into this. I thought this was interesting. So anyway, as you can see here, Indiana is the cheapest. So $200,000 can buy you a home in Indiana for 2,300 square feet. I want to look at Arizona. Where's Arizona here? Because my wife and I bought her first house right there. Man, that's nuts. We bought our first house in 1998 in Arizona on 7th Street in Beardsley in Phoenix. Had 1,231 square feet, and it was $98,000. And I think the going price was 110 because we did sweat equity. We had to paint the inside and the outside of the home as our down payment, and it was basically $110,000. So basically, it's doubled in time in price going from 1998 till today. That's 20 years. Look at that, and yet that's even a bigger square footage, and that's a little bit more square footage and double in price. Now that's all of Phoenix. That's all of Arizona, not just Phoenix. But I just find that interesting. Here's Georgia and Indiana. Look. Southern, Midwest, Southern, South Central, I guess, Midwest, Southern, Midwest, Southern, Northeast, Upper Northwest, Midwest. Find it interesting. DC, Hawaii, California, Massachusetts. So you take the West Coast, and even Utah is expensive here. And Alaska, Rhode Island. Yeah, I mean, Montana, look at that. Montana, that's crazy. Pennsylvania's in the green. So the green means you have more square footage for that price right there. Obviously, there's a lot going on here. I mean, my goodness, going back to Georgia, I mean, you could live in North Fulton County, Georgia. You're not getting, well, I don't know, actually. In some places, you probably could get 2,000 square feet for $200,000. I don't know. I just don't know. But that's interesting. I love this stuff. So we go over here to the table, and we see Indiana median price per square foot, $86 per square foot. Georgia, $99 per square foot. That sounds about right, my friends. I mean, some places, I live in the affluent part of North Fulton County, it's more than 99, but you can get 99 square foot easily in Georgia. One county over was literally 2 miles that way, Cherokee County, sure. Kentucky, 100 miles, a median per square foot. That give you something to go on. Obviously, got to look at your county, but look at down here, man. Massachusetts, 226 per square foot. Man, in Maine, I saw it's pretty expensive too. $150 per square foot in Maine. Now you get outside Portland, I don't know what that'd be, but man, that's nuts. New Hampshire's 149 per square foot, even though New Hampshire has much higher property taxes. Anyway, I love this stuff. I find this interesting for sure. So if you're thinking about quitting your crappy old job and relocating, the green is where you want to be. The red is not. That's all there is to it. I mean, obviously you love Montana. Let me make another thing too, an observation. So we've lived in a bunch of houses. And we bought that house in Phoenix, like I told you. When we lived in Virginia, Dayton, Virginia, I think it's 1,251 square feet or something like that. We bought 2 beds, 3 beds, 1 bath. I can't remember. And we had 2 kids there, my wife and I. And we had her sister live with us for a while. Then I can't remember. We were able to did a cash out to get enough money on a cash out refi to put us a 4th bedroom on there with a master bedroom, essentially. What I found, though, is actually at the end of the day, the bigger the house isn't. Let's just put it this way. Look, 1,200 square feet is pretty small in this day and age, for sure. I get that. That's basically 3 bed, 2 bath. That's what we had in Phoenix. In Virginia, we had 3 bed, 1 bath. That was pretty tight. But when it was just my wife and I and my brother were living in Phoenix, that was absolutely easily doable for sure. But once you get above, 2,000, 2,500 square feet, that's a lot of wasted space, my friends. I'm just telling you, lots of wasted space. And I mean, like this room right here, I love as my office. But the facts are, anytime you got your heating and your air conditioning, you got to, I don't know what this is, maybe 12 by 12, maybe, which is a pretty good size office. But anytime the more square footage, just the more heating and air conditioning you have to have. There's just no other way around that. You got high ceilings here, which is nice again. But that's just more utilities. So just remember, before you go out there and buy a bigger house because you think it's I don't know, whatever it is. I mean, I've made that mistake, man. No other way around that. We bought bigger houses thinking it's more luxury or luxurious. There's more heating and you get a lot of wasted space. And you'll find out that you don't really use as much as you thought you would. I'm just telling you right now, you don't. And I'm not saying, look, just go and get some shack or a 1,251 square foot house like we had in Virginia. But before you rush out, just keep that in mind. What are you actually using a house for? Because if you don't have kids or you only have 1 kid or 2 kids, you really need a 3,500 square foot home. I'm telling you, don't. And I'm not going to fault you if you want that. I don't care. But just keep that in the back of your mind. It's not all it's cracked up to be. You got higher property taxes. You got higher costs of obviously mortgage, and you get higher cost to heat it and all that as well. Just more maintenance for that for sure. So just keep that in mind. All right. Anyway, I hope this helps. We'll see you guys next time. Subscribe, comment, thumbs up. We'll see you.